Emily Carter, a 30-year-old maid, stood holding a cleaning cart. She looked ahead, her eyes fixed on Samantha Delaney, who approached with a cold, determined expression. "Do you think you can steal my necklace and get away with it? Do you really believe you can do that just because no one can see you?" Emily's eyes widened, her hands starting to tremble. The murmurs of the guests around her grew louder, suspicious glances turning in her direction. Emily's heart raced as Samantha leaned in closer, a sneer playing on her lips. I don't know what you're talking about. I would never touch your things." "Oh, of course. It's always like this, isn't it? You all play the victim with that innocent face. But I know people like you. Just wait for the right opportunity, and you'll show your true colors." Tears began to form in Emily's eyes, but she refused to let them fall, lifting her chin in a last-ditch effort to maintain her dignity. "I swear, I didn't do anything. I've always worked hard here, always been honest." "Honest? Please. Did you all hear that? This woman is trying to convince me she didn't steal a diamond necklace. I should have known better." "You can't trust anyone who works here," Samantha said. In that moment, Emily felt her world crumbling. But Samantha's fate was about to change drastically. She didn't yet know that her lies were about to be exposed, and that this time, the truth would prevail. Want to know how this story ends? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications and join us every day for thrilling plots and surprising revelations that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last minute. The Grand Horizon Hotel stood majestically amid the city, a symbol of luxury and sophistication. The marble-clad walls and crystal chandeliers reflected the sunlight streaming through the large windows, creating an atmosphere of opulence. Emily Carter, a 30-year-old maid, had been working in this sanctuary of wealth since moving to the city in search of a better future. Every day, she dedicated herself to keeping the suites immaculate, meticulously cleaning every corner and organizing the guests' belongings with a nearly maternal care. "Good morning, Miss Emily," a guest greeted as she passed through the hallway, a radiant smile lighting up her face. "Good morning. I hope you have a wonderful stay here," Emily replied, her warm smile making her well-liked among the guests. She always believed that a kind gesture could brighten someone's day. That morning, while organizing towels on her cart, Emily found herself dreaming of a different life. The echoes of laughter and animated conversations reached her, reminding her that the world beyond the hotel walls was full of opportunities. "One day, I'll have my own home and a job that makes me feel fulfilled," she thought as she arranged the cushions on a luxurious sofa. Since she was young, Emily faced many hardships. She grew up in a small town, struggling with poverty after losing her parents in a car accident. She decided to move to the big city with the dream of building a better life. During her routine, she often crossed paths with wealthy and influential guests, but there was one client who always caught her attention: Jack Delaney, a tech magnate known for his charisma and intelligence. He often visited the hotel with his wife, Samantha, a stunning woman who seemed to carry an air of constant tension. Emily occasionally noticed Jack watching her from afar, always with a respectful gaze. There was something in his expression that suggested curiosity, perhaps even admiration. That afternoon, while Emily was cleaning Suite 1603, she heard raised voices coming from the hallway. Curious, she approached and saw Samantha, visibly agitated, pacing back and forth. With a sense of empathy, Emily decided to intervene. "Mrs. Delaney, is everything all right?" Emily asked, gently placing her hand on Samantha's arm. Samantha stopped abruptly, her eyes filled with tears. "No, it's not. My diamond necklace is missing," she yelled, frustration lacing her voice. "It was a gift from Jack, and I know someone stole it." "But, ma'am, maybe it just got misplaced. If you need help, I'm here," Emily offered, trying to calm the woman down. "Help? You? I don't want help from anyone who works here. You were probably the last one in my suite." Samantha shot back, her desperation turning into an accusation. I know you took it. You're just a maid. What else could you want but a diamond necklace? Emily stood frozen, the accusation hitting her like a punch to the gut. Mrs. Delaney, I would never do that. I respect everyone's belongings. Please believe me, she pleaded, her voice trembling. Shut up. You will pay for this. Samantha shouted, drawing the attention of other guests passing by the corridor, and soon the news spread through the hotel like wildfire. Emily felt her heart sink, and a wave of injustice washed over her. Meanwhile, in a corner of the hotel, Jack Delaney watched the scene intently. He had just stepped out of a meeting when he heard the commotion. The expression on his wife's face, mixed with indignation and the disapproving looks from the guests, made his heart race. Something doesn't seem right, he thought, fixing his gaze on Emily, who looked visibly shaken. In recent months, Jack had noticed strange behaviors in Samantha. She had become more distant, always making excuses about unexpected trips and meetings. Once, he found bank statements showing transactions he didn't recognize. Jack, you won't believe it. This woman stole my necklace, Samantha exclaimed, pointing at Emily. The business magnate frowned, intrigued. He knew Emily's strong work ethic and her kind nature. Something didn't add up. Wait, Samantha. Let's clarify this before making any hasty accusations. Clarify. She's guilty. How can you defend someone like her? Samantha protested, but Jack was already lost in his thoughts, beginning to deconstruct the narrative his wife had created. With a heavy heart and a confused mind, Emily stepped away from the scene, feeling the cold stares of the guests as she passed. She never imagined her day could take such a drastic turn. I need to prove my innocence, she thought, determined not to let a lie ruin her life. Jack Delaney sat in the luxurious armchair of his hotel room at the Grand Horizon Hotel, his eyes fixed on the television screen showing footage from the hotel corridor. He watched the security camera recordings, his mind swirling with conflicting thoughts. He recalled the time Samantha spent an exorbitant amount at an auction without consulting anyone, claiming it was an investment. There were also those mysterious phone calls that ended abruptly whenever he entered the room. How can you be so naive, Jack? He murmured to himself. She always had a way of manipulating those around her. The look of despair on Emily's face was still vivid in his memory. He stood up, the chair creaking under his weight, and began to pace the room, his steps heavy and decisive. After a few minutes of reflection, Jack decided he needed more information. He picked up the phone and called the hotel security team. Hi, this is Jack Delaney. I need you to review the footage from the corridor before any accusations are made. Can you do that for me now? The voice of the security personnel on the other end was firm, but Jack could sense hesitance. Sure, sir. I'll see what I can do. While he waited, Jack remembered the first time he met Emily. She had a special way about her, always with a smile on her face and a contagious enthusiasm. She couldn't possibly steal anything, especially not a diamond necklace, he thought, a knot forming in his stomach. The idea that such an upstanding woman could be wrongfully accused troubled him deeply. Finally, the security personnel returned his call. Mr. Delaney, I found the footage. Samantha left the room around 1:30 p.m. The accusation happened about 10 minutes later. Emily wasn't seen leaving the room until after that. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. So, she left alone? Are you sure? Yes, sir. And there are no images of Emily leaving before the accusation. It seems she was alone in the suite while Samantha was out. Thank you. I'll keep an eye on this. Jack hung up, his heart racing. Now he had a lead he needed to follow. Something was off, and he couldn't let Emily become a victim of his wife's fury. He stood up and decided to head to the hotel's security room. Upon arriving, he found the head of security, a sturdy man with a serious expression. "Jack, what are you doing here?" he asked. "I need to see the footage from today." "It's regarding the situation with the maid," Jack replied, a bit more intense than he intended. "Sure, come with me," the head of security said, leading him to a room filled with monitors. Jack sat down and watched as the images unfolded on the screen. He observed Samantha leaving, the tension in her gestures, and then the entrance of Emily into the suite. He also noticed something else, a small suitcase that Samantha was carrying that hadn't been there before. "This doesn't make sense," Jack murmured. "I can't believe Samantha accused her without reason." He began to think about all the times Samantha had acted strangely. The excessive shopping, the suspicious phone calls, the mysterious dinners she claimed were with important clients. With every thought, distrust grew like a shadow in his mind. "You know Samantha has a history of manipulation?" Jack asked the security guard. "She's always had this knack for making people believe what she wants." The head of security nodded. "It's true. I've seen it happen before. She has a way of diverting attention when things don't go as planned." Jack decided he couldn't let this situation continue. He needed to uncover the truth, not just for Emily, but for himself. "I'll investigate this on my own," he declared, resolute. "She can't get away with this. If you need help, I'm here for you," the security guard offered, sensing the seriousness in Jack's expression. "Thanks, but this is something I need to do alone," Jack replied, already preparing to leave the room. He now had a mission, to uncover the truth behind that absurd accusation and protect the innocent Emily Carter. As he stepped out, a thought struck him. What if Samantha was trying to divert attention from something much more serious? Jack's mind began to race, formulating plans as he walked through the hotel, determined to uncover the secrets lurking in the shadows of the Grand Horizon. Jack Delaney was lost in thought, seated on one of the plush sofas in the lobby of the Grand Horizon Hotel. He observed the hustle and bustle of the place, but his mind was elsewhere. The accusation against Emily still echoed in his head, and he felt there was something much deeper behind that explosive scene he had witnessed. The image of Samantha, with her desperate and frustrated expression, wouldn't leave him. He knew he needed to understand more about her past. That afternoon, he decided to head to the hotel's security room. The atmosphere was dim, illuminated only by the bluish light of the screens displaying the footage. The head of security, Marco, greeted him with a worried expression. "Jack, you shouldn't be here. The situation with the maid is complicated," Marco said, glancing around as if fearing someone might overhear them. "I know, Marco, but I need to see the footage." "Something isn't right," Jack replied, his tone resolute. Marco hesitated but eventually agreed, starting to search for the recordings. The screens showed the hotel corridors, and Jack focused on every movement. He saw Samantha leaving Suite 1603, but the footage before that didn't show Emily anywhere. "Wait a minute," Jack said, watching a new screen. "Rewind a bit." Marco rewound the footage, and suddenly Jack noticed something that made his eyes widen. A hooded figure hurried past the corridor at a time that didn't align with Emily's presence. "Who is that person?" Jack asked, pointing at the screen. "I don't know, Jack. We don't have a clear identification," Marco replied, confused. "We need to find out. Samantha is involved in something. And I'm going to figure out what it is," Jack declared, his heart racing with a mix of anger and growing unease. That night, Jack decided to confront Samantha. He found her at the hotel bar, where she seemed at ease, as if nothing was happening. He approached her, trying to remain calm. "Samantha, we need to talk," Jack said, taking a seat beside her. She looked at him, surprised, but quickly regained her composure. "What is it, darling? You've had that worried look since we arrived. Don't tell me you're thinking about the maid," she teased, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm thinking about the truth. Do you remember when you talked about the necklace?" Jack asked, watching her reaction. Samantha hesitated, her expression shifting for a brief moment. Of course. It was a gift, Jack. A gift you gave me. What does that have to do with the maid? She replied, raising her voice. I saw the footage. You left the suite before anything happened. And I saw another person in the corridor. Someone who wasn't Emily, Jack stated, challenging her. Samantha hardened her gaze. You're letting yourself be swayed by rumors, Jack. There's nothing more than a desperate maid trying to play the victim. You can't believe her, she insisted, trying to divert attention. What if I told you the maid isn't the only one with secrets? Jack challenged, his voice low but firm. He stood up, determined to pursue more information. Samantha's gaze followed him, and he realized he couldn't trust her. The truth was slowly unfolding, like a puzzle with pieces clicking together with each new detail discovered. The next morning, Jack sought out an informant he had in his network, someone who could shed light on the shadows surrounding Samantha. He met him in a discreet cafe, away from the curious eyes of the hotel. Do you have any information on Samantha Delaney? Jack asked as the waiter served 2 coffees. The informant, a man of weary appearance, looked around cautiously and then leaned in closer. She's more complicated than you think, Jack. I've heard rumors about her being involved in a financial scheme, he whispered, using her husband's name to cover her illicit transactions. Jack frowned, surprised by the revelation. What exactly is she doing? He asked, eager for more details. I don't have all the information, but she might be siphoning money from investors. And the necklace. He hesitated, as if weighing the consequences of his words. It could be part of a payment to silence someone. Jack's heart raced. He felt he was finally getting closer to the truth. The accusation against Emily was increasingly looking like a smokescreen to hide Samantha's true crimes. He knew he needed to act fast. Jack Delaney sat in his office, his eyes fixed on the papers scattered across his desk. The soft light from the lamp illuminated the documents he had gathered about his wife, Samantha. He couldn't believe the depth of the lies she had woven. Each detail seemed darker than the last. He had hired a private investigator, a man named Marco, who had promised to bring concrete evidence of Samantha's illicit activities. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He needed to act quickly before the situation became irreversible. Hours passed as Jack reviewed the information Marco had sent him. He began planning the upcoming gala, an event that was supposed to be a spectacle of luxury and glamour, but which he intended to use as a stage to expose the truth. A party that, instead of celebrating, would become a courtroom where Samantha would be called to answer for her crimes. That afternoon, Jack decided to meet Emily. He needed her to understand that he was on her side, that she wasn't alone. As he entered the hotel cafe, he saw Emily sitting at a small table, gazing out the window. The sunlight reflected on her face, and Jack noticed the sadness in her eyes. He approached and pulled out a chair. Emily, he began, trying to choose his words carefully. About what happened. I want you to know that I'm here to help. Emily looked up, surprised. But, you're Samantha's husband. Why would you care about me? Her voice was tinged with distrust. Because I don't believe you're guilty. And honestly, I'm starting to question everything I know about my wife, Jack replied, sincerity shining in his eyes. She paused, absorbing his words. So, what do you plan to do? I'm organizing a gala at the hotel. I want you to come as my special guest. I want everyone to see who you really are, an honest woman who has been unjustly accused, Jack said, his voice steady. At the same time, I want to expose Samantha. Emily hesitated, biting her lip. And what if that goes wrong? What if she seeks revenge on me? I promise I will protect you. Don't let fear stop you from doing what's right. You deserve this, Jack asserted, his determination growing. Okay, Emily finally agreed, her voice more resolute. I will go. But what if I'm not welcomed? I won't allow anyone to treat you poorly. This is your moment, Emily. You deserve to be seen as the true heroine that you are, Jack replied, a hopeful smile on his lips. The days that followed were a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Jack dedicated himself to preparing every detail of the gala. He wanted everything to be perfect, from the flowers to the music. Each element had to be meticulously arranged to create the ideal atmosphere for his revelation. Meanwhile, Marco continued to gather information, and Jack became increasingly confident that his strategy would work. The day of the party arrived, and the Grand Horizon Hotel looked stunning. Twinkling lights hung from the ceiling as guests from all over the world gathered, dressed in their finest attire. Jack was nervous but determined. He donned an elegant suit, his gaze fixed on the entrance, waiting for Emily. When she finally arrived, he was taken aback. She was radiant in a blue dress that accentuated her natural beauty, and her presence brought a new energy to the room. You look stunning, Jack commented, a genuine smile on his face. Thank you, Jack. But what if all of this goes wrong? Emily asked, her expression anxious. It won't go wrong. We're doing this together, he reassured her. The truth always prevails, and today, that truth will be revealed. The music began to play, and the guests started to dance. Jack and Emily mingled among the crowd, but Jack knew the most important moment was yet to come. He glanced at the stage, where he was preparing to deliver a speech that could change everything. Each beat of his heart echoed in his mind as he awaited the moment to expose the truth. The tension in the air was palpable. Jack held Emily's hand, feeling that no matter what happened, they were in this together, and that was what truly mattered. The night of the gala arrived, and the Grand Horizon Hotel was aglow. The lights sparkled like stars, while the elegantly dressed guests chatted animatedly amid laughter and champagne toasts. Emily Carter was nervous but determined to face the situation. Although she had been invited by Jack, the weight of the accusation still loomed over her like a shadow. Jack, on the other hand, was focused. He observed the room, watching the guests as they mingled, each with their own conversations and secrets, but his mind was set on a single goal: to unmask the real culprit of the night. As he took the stage, the murmur of the crowd fell silent. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Good evening, everyone, Jack began, his voice strong and clear. Tonight, we celebrate not only the success of our hotel, but also the tireless dedication of our team. A special thanks to our housekeeper Emily Carter, who has been an example of integrity and professionalism. Emily felt warmth rise to her cheeks, surprised by the recognition. The guests turned their attention to her, some whispering in admiration, others still burdened by lingering suspicion. Jack paused, observing the audience's reaction before continuing. However, not everyone here tonight deserves honor, he said, the tension in the room increasing palpably. Recently, an unjust accusation was made against Emily, an accusation that I am determined to prove false. Samantha, seated in the audience, began to sweat, her gaze fixed on Jack. He had picked up the thread of the matter, and it made her uneasy. Sensing his wife's discomfort, Jack decided it was the perfect moment for the revelation. For this reason, I have prepared a presentation, he said, gesturing for the lights to dim as a projector lit up the screen. Images began to flash, the hotel security footage showing Samantha leaving Suite 1603, the moment Emily entered, and then Samantha's departure with a bag that hadn't been there before. The murmurs intensified. What is this? Someone asked aloud. These are the images that reveal the true sequence of events, Jack continued, his voice growing heavier. Additionally, I found documents linking Samantha to suspicious financial transactions and manipulations that jeopardized not only this hotel but also our reputation. The audience was in shock. The evidence was clear and undeniable. Samantha attempted to rise from her seat, but Jack raised his hand, requesting silence. I am not only here to protect the innocent Emily, but also to expose the truth about my wife. Jack, you can't do this, Samantha shouted, her voice trembling. You're going crazy. I am your wife. You can't betray me like this. Betrayal is what you've done to all of us, Samantha. You used your name and position to cover your actions. The only betrayal here is yours, Jack replied firmly. The police, previously alerted, made their entrance into the hall. The lights came back on, and the murmurs turned into screams of disbelief. Samantha, realizing there was no escape, began to back away but was quickly surrounded by officers. You are under arrest for theft, fraud, and conspiracy. Please come with us, one of the officers said as she attempted to defend herself. This is absurd. Jack, you can't do this to me. I am your wife. But the truth had been laid bare, and the audience, who once admired Samantha, now looked at her with contempt. Jack felt a mix of relief and sadness. He had finally freed himself and Emily from the manipulation his wife had wielded. As Samantha was taken away, the gazes turned to Jack and Emily. He approached her, and amid the chaos whispered, "Are you okay?" She nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Jack. I never thought I'd get out of this," Emily said, her voice trembling but resolute. "It wasn't easy, but the truth always prevails," Jack replied, looking deeply into her eyes. They both knew that this moment would change their lives forever, but now, finally free, they could envision a future where truth and integrity were the new foundations. The tension still lingered in the air as Samantha Delaney, her eyes filled with rage and disbelief, was led away by the police. The murmurs of the crowd fell silent, and all eyes turned to Jack Delaney, who took a deep breath, trying to process the avalanche of emotions crashing over him. He finally turned to Emily, just a few steps away, her expression a mix of relief and confusion. "Emily," he began, his voice steady yet gentle. "I know that nothing that happened today is easy for you. I want you to know that I have always admired you." She looked up, surprised. "What do you mean? We never really knew each other. I'm just a maid." "No, that's not it. I remember you," Jack said, taking a step closer. "In those brief interactions, you always stood out. Your courage and dignity. I never forgot." He hesitated, as if weighing his words. "I was so caught up in my life, in my marriage. But you were always a light in the darkness." Emily could feel her heart racing. "Jack, please, now is not the time for this. You just exposed your wife as a criminal. I'm nobody in your life." "You are more than you think," Jack insisted, his gaze intense. "I realized that the life I had didn't make me happy. Samantha wasn't who I thought she was. I was trapped, just like you." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I just wanted to be innocent. I never wanted any of this." "I know," Jack said, moving even closer. "And I want you to know that I'm here to help you. I want you to let me do that. Not just for you but for us. We can start over, far from all of this." "You're saying that because you're confused." The adrenaline of the moment, the need to feel free, Emily protested, but she could already feel a spark of hope. "And I don't know if this is right." "I'm not confused," Jack replied, his voice firm. "I'm certain that what I feel for you is real. When you were being accused, I realized I couldn't let you be punished unjustly. I couldn't let the fear and betrayal from Samantha define what I want for the future." Emily looked at him, her heart torn between distrust and hope. "And what if you're wrong? What if, after all of this, you realize you still love your wife?" Jack paused, as if weighing his words. "I don't love her. I feared her. And now that she's being held accountable for her actions, I'm free. Free to pursue what truly matters. And that's you. A heavy silence settled between them as the chaos of the gala began to fade. People were still whispering about the events of the night, but for Jack and Emily, the world around them seemed to vanish. His gaze was locked on hers, and she could see the sincerity in his eyes. "So, what do you suggest?" Emily asked, a hesitant smile blooming on her face. "Let's really get to know each other," Jack proposed, hope shining in his eyes. "Let's leave this hotel, away from the lies and betrayals, and discover who we really are. We can start from scratch." "I'd like that," Emily said, a newfound determination sweeping over her. "But we need to make sure we're not just running away from the consequences." "You're right," Jack agreed. "We need to face what's ahead. But together, I know we can overcome anything." As the police led Samantha away, the morning light began to filter through the hotel window, illuminating the path Jack and Emily were about to take. With one last look at the shadows of the past, they turned to each other, ready for a new beginning, finally free from the traps that had held them. And so, amidst a world of luxury and betrayal, the truth emerged, revealing that true love could indeed overcome all obstacles. Did you enjoy the conclusion of this thrilling story? If so, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We have new incredible stories every day, filled with drama, twists, and emotion. Turn on notifications and follow each chapter with us. Until next time.